Okay, so as a Director of Information Technology rep here for the Reopen School Act for Biden. Remember, that's not something done. It's just a proposal as an act that could pass as a bill down the line as good bill spending in terms of taking the functional model, what it is, reorganizing the parts, and saying we're going to put them into the Reopening the School Act. And so we'll stop right there. And I want to take a tangent off into private, small hubbed educational systems, which would be a manufacturing system of this from that last index. As soon as they were like, hey, you're out of the market now, you're screwing around, not doing your numbers, there's a better system for it. The problem with that notation is the school system. It's not the teachers union board, it's actual gravitational calc numbers which separate it from a military, because military is our school. And when I talk about it on another index here, that secondary tangent, it's going to be how Stanford force bar classes are a stone mill, and how then reopening the school acts go to that IMA program in terms of the parents, the systems, what local areas, so we can define that actual number. When I say, well, computer engineering, well, it come out of this class. Well, big whoopie do, and it starts a meme stock. It runs that number based on too much money for what that system has, which is going to say, what, do more, get out of the index of what it does, and probably not have a team because it's riskier based on those operations. All about the math. Basically, your home checking system or playing the market, how a teacher would run a group of students to track their indicator and see how they're doing, and then say, with that money, what are you going to do? You're going to start a business. It's going to run like a military camp, right? It's going to have to, because the series of the products going to the end result are reciprocals. They're an independent, turbulent flow in terms of the business every day, equally to this number of products, a series of tests. Some days it's that number, sometimes it's not, and those are compounding factors of systems and everything that you learn in every math class, and can happen right here. And sometimes the factoring of it is more about a tag in my ear from old Marshmallow or Salty saying, I was qualified on these things. If something comes up on the index that says I wasn't up to par based on the physics, there's somebody responsible for that. And just as a team member, it's a higher structure based on this to devote a team that's privately, independently set to do a thing like that for the taxes out of the system for defense security math. And that's why you got them. And that's why we all are like, oh, yeah, we do put money into that one for that reason. And it goes to police station, it goes to other. But you got to factor the system in terms of what's left over, really. And really what the terms of the system are to even do it and why you would want to do it. You'd have to be so good in the market that you'd actually be able to do it for minimum wage, governmental pay at the top. And then it kind of works different under difficulties and pressures, because you would have to get votes at that time because you're not up actually at the top or one of those key positions. Where realistically you should be able to play it for minimum wage, or the place underneath at 15 and maybe then a few other underneath it where it's like they're a worker, they're doing indexes, digging the information out of the ground where it's actually fucking worth the thing, compiling it, putting it all together. You can't do that without that other step. But if they were to take the time and the desk instead of running another one, they probably could. So when we say reopen the schools, we have to think about what the standard for the core is eventually for this. And I mean the education core. It's the Common Core education system. We've had it from Persia. It was our original foundation on it. Sit down, have a class, spectrum on the spectrometer, A through C on the system. You can pet them out with each other, and you run the physics in small-scale experiments that operated. I don't know if they were necessarily working in that form, but certainly our progressive nature of eschatology saying that we're still in that pyramid build in terms of schools and system as they present themselves today, dealing with the energy of a culture, and that finished capstone to say it is at least a point in that functionable timeline that operates certain indicated models of physics as a human civilization at least. But beyond that, you would say, what was it? Corn, wheat, and barley on that system. That's general relativity. Certain operations have timelines. It's operational wave function. Sometimes it's just to say we give Gunny a gunnery sergeant pay because it does that thing. And, it's meant to be handled in that form, and we deal with him in the psychological analysis of it all because it hubs it down into one spot that is easily checked and easily being able to function down that model in terms of the scientific observations, what could come off in group theories like psychological, biological, neurological, computing systems, programs, in terms of whatever could be system. Well, what is his program? What is his technique? What is their form? What is their standard? Because basically it's going to correlate to that specific location's output on what the standard is. When you say 1,000 or a trillion for Bitcoin, and then here it's not on an indicator where those two lines and who was in charge of that decision making monies off the turn that's already pulled out, and pretty much made that impossible for that number to have ever been quoted out to that base. And then that's education of the students. And say education for a computer analysis person is more computer analysis. You're going to do more computer jobs. Director of Information Technology are kind of arbitrary terms relative to a seat, a senator, mayor, judge, or otherwise.